Hello everyone, welcome to the Condor Station. I'd like to give you a bit of history and background for our Condor recovery program, and then I'll answer any questions you might have. I'll start with some history. In 1987, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service captured the last condor in the wild and put it into the breeding program. Imagine, that was the last wild condor, and no one knew if we could recover. Fortunately, the surviving condor made it and produced offspring. Now, after more than 17 years, there are 149 condors living in captivity and 99 flying free in California, Arizona, and Baja, Mexico. More birds are being released into the wild whenever possible, and we know that at least 5 pairs of birds are mating in the wild, so that's good news. Now, you can guess that we want to keep track of the birds in the wild, so how do we do that? We've used different section system, but now GPS global position system attached to the birds give us our best information. Just so you can appreciate our work, think of trying to attach one of the unit to a bird in a 9-foot wingspan. Those wings will come close to knocking you out and the peak as sharp as a sharpened knife in your kitchen. This part of the job can be challenging. We've also discovered something that's very interesting and potentially even more helpful. We found that species is intelligent and much more complicated than we thought. Until now, we didn't really know how much condor actually have to learn to survive in the wild, but we know that we do indeed have to learn to survive. The people wore puppet on their hands that looked like adult condor, but it didn't act like parents' condor. They just drew the puppet to give the babies food. Then those babies were put together with not babies and had no contact with adult condors. They acted like pets instead of wild animals. Obviously, this wasn't good. After watching adult condor with babies, we realized that parents condor taught the babies a lot of being cautious and defending themselves. The parent condor spent a lot of time harassing the babies, picking at them and pushing them away when they are too curious, and this teaches them to be careful and to protect themselves. So now we consider this in raising baby condors. The humans are trained to act like parent condor, as I said, picking and harassing baby. Another area we'll learn about is because of GPS monitoring is the way that group condor relate and work together. Condor are scavenger, so they need to look for dead animals to eat. Now you probably never thought of it. That's not the same as an animal that hunt for food. Think about it. A scavenger is dependent on finding a dead animal to eat at the right time or it goes hungry. So what we found that is that condor actually share information about food location for food. There's actually a kind of apprenticeship where condor work together. A more experienced bird helps a less experienced bird learn to where to find food. It's not really something that you imagine bird doing, is it? Another surprising point is how social these birds are. Through the information from GBED units, we found that birds actually do like socialize. One group of birds will travel about 160 miles down to the coast to visit another group and hang out. That's something many of us can relate to. Although we might not travel 160 miles out that often, even to visit a good friend. So that's some background on the condor. Why is this work important? Well, first of all, we like to have wild condor living without interference from us, but in a broader sense, we can always learn. As I've mentioned, we have found that condor are very intelligent, and their lives are more complex than we realize. So we never know what else we might learn, or how this information might apply to another animal's problem, or even people's problem for that matter. Good morning and welcome to the program. According to a report out this week, the United States is still a nation of entrepreneurs. The number of single-person businesses, or people who are self-employed, has increased to 17.5 million, up from 17 million last year. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, this morning we'll look at the trend towards self-employment and freelancing that's happening all over the United States. But first, let's go out on the street and talk to some people that work for lives. What do you do? I have 3 different jobs. I'm a substitute teacher, I write for a website, and I volunteer at an art museum. Well, it's not all that bad. I only teach for a couple of days a week, 2 or 3 days a week usually. And I do the website work at home, often during the evenings. So it's not that much conflict. You get quality variety. So you enjoy working in 3 different places? Right now, yeah, I really do, especially with the teaching. When you're a sub, you don't get involved in the day-to-day stuff on the paperwork or the politics. You just go in and do the job, then you go home. And it's flexible. And I don't want to go to work, I don't have to. But I feel that I need to work more and ask for more teaching hours. If I have a full-time job, I think I would burn out and I wouldn't be able to do other work, which I really enjoy. How about health benefits? Well, I get health insurance through my wife's job, so I don't have to worry about it. I've just set up my own baking business. I make cakes for special occasions, wedding and that sort of thing. Really? Well, I had a full-time job, but I got laid off, so I decided to go out on my own. So how is it going? Well, I don't have many expenses because I'm living and working at my parents' house, so I don't have to pay rent. It's going okay. I'm getting by. It takes a while, to get known. It's been a learning experience. I learned a lot about managing a business and what are your plans for the future? Well, I need to work on marketing, getting out there and selling myself. I'm not very good at that part of it. Ideally, I'd like to work with a partner that could do that. Maybe I'd like to have my own place someday, but right now, I'm just taking a time at a time. Back to the studio now. And I've just joined the subject is about recent report that shows 17.5 million self-employed people in the United States will taking labor specialist Jenny Huang. Welcome to the program, Jenny. Thank you. Jenny, can you tell us how these 17.5 million people are? Well, there are different types of people in this category. These are entrepreneur, this young lady you interview, the ones that have own one-person business. There are ones that usually think of when we think of self-employment. But then there are freelancers who might go to work in different places or work on contract basis. What kind of work do these people do? Well, the greatest rise in employment has been in professional and business services. That would include people like freelance web designer, marketing consultant, and so on. The second biggest category is construction workers. That would include carpenters, painters, electricians, and so on, who work for themselves. And why do you think self-employment is on the rise? Well, some of it is iconic that people have been laid off, so they decide to go on their own. Another reason that grow the software industry and the media, writer and programmer and so on. There are a lot of people working in those areas now, but there's also been a change in attitudes. There are more people who want the advantage of self-employment. They're finding it preferable being able to manage their own time, for example. They want to have more control of their own schedule. Exactly. What are the downsides of self-employment? Well, a lot of people underestimate the amount of time you have to put into business side of things, especially in marketing, especially at the beginning. It's not enough good at something. You have to be able to sell yourself. Some people would just never go into self-employment because marketing is their strength. The other thing is to be organized, especially with your time. You have to be able to manage your time. You need a business plan. You really have to be well organized to be a freelancer.